Hey everybody, it's Alex and welcome back to another video, and today I had an idea. During this quarantine, I fell in love with Metroid all over again. I got into the series a while ago thanks to a channel called the Geek Critique. His channel will be linked in the description, so check him out. Anyway, that happened a while ago. Now that I've been loving Metroid again, I wanted to do a video on it. I could have done more Fusion, but that would require me to stream it, and not just record. However, after watching a video by Arlo about Pikmin, I finally decided on how I would do a video on Metroid, by starting a whole new mini-series. I plan on releasing 3 videos about games, just stating what I like about them. That means this series will mostly be positive, and if you guys like these videos and give them enough engagement, you know, liking, commenting, etc., then I'll continue the series alongside my regular reviews and Let's Plays. The first topic is obviously Metroid. Good God, do I love Metroid. The first game I played in the series was Super Metroid. I received an SNES Classic for Christmas one year, and I honestly had known the Metroid games are good, but I didn't think they were for me. Then I noticed that Super Metroid was on the SNES Classic and starting playing it, as it was the first time I could play without a demo, you know, because like I had only played them in like Smash 4 and Wii and Brawl as demos. Well, as they called them, masterpieces. I thought it was fun, and in fact I really enjoyed it, but after I soft-locked myself in the sunken ship, I kind of lost interest. I deleted my save file because that's all I could do, which made me leave it alone for a while. However, about 4 months later, the YouTube algorithm recommended me a video about Super Metroid by the channel called the Geek Critique. I loved how in-depth he was, and I love his editing style, and I still do. And I thought, and again, still think that, he's really good at what he does. I watched his entire Metroid series, aside from the ones I hadn't played yet. I watched his video on Metroid 1, 2, Super, Fusion, and Zero Mission, and Other M. He did videos on Prime, but I didn't want to watch those because I wanted to go in blind for YouTube. So afterwards I bought the Prime Trilogy digitally on Wii U, as well as actually took interest in Metroid 1 that I had on my 3DS for the first time, since I bought it when Ridley was announced for Smash Ultimate. Speaking of Smash, the only reason why I even gave a crap about Samus, and by proxy Metroid, in the first place, was that I mained Samus in Brawl and in Smash 4. I loved how Samus played back in the Brawl days, and still like it in Smash 4, but not as much. I feel like Samus' moveset in Smash leaves a lot to be desired, and I all but dropped her in Ultimate, only playing her if I'm feeling nostalgic or as a counterpick, which, as little as that happens. I was disappointed in a moveset found in Smash. Her abilities in her own games are amazing and very satisfying to pull off. Ha! I did a segue. Samus is acrobatic in her own games, and even in Super Metroid, she's a little bit floaty. I mean that in the best way, as I think it's amazing how good they made it feel in Super. The premise of Metroid's gameplay is all about exploration and progression. You're thrown into this world with nothing but a pea shooter in Metroid 1, or your standard shot everywhere else. Unless your Samus returns, and in which you start off with missiles. Just had to be special. Either way, this is a good contrast to how ridiculously powerful you get by the end. You have power-ups that affect traversal, such as the oh-so-iconic Morph Ball, and the less-known Spider Ball, Space Jump, and of course, the Grapple Beam. You have a smorgasbord of combat upgrades, from the Ice, Wave, Spacer, and Plasma Beams, Missile and Super Missile Tank upgrades, and situationally bombs and power bombs. But that's not all that gets upgraded. You also have access to different suits. The 2D games have 2 main ones, and the Prime games have a ton, which I'll get into in just a bit. The 2D games have the Varia suit, which literally every Metroid game features. Yes, even Federation Force. The Gravity suit, which is similar to the Varia suit, but purple, and super sick in Samus Returns. The Varia suit provides minimal heat resistance, so you won't take damage in areas with a lot of heat. The Gravity suit, again, buffs your defenses, and once again provides more heat protection, allowing you to swim in lava, but also allows you to move more normally, and in fact perfectly normally, in things like lava and water, where you'd move slower and jump lower usually. Now, the Prime games are a little bit different. They have a variety of suits that will help out situationally and give you combat upgrades. Specifically in Metroid Prime 2, as an example, the Dark suit provides different buffs to you on top of allowing you to better survive in the atmosphere of Dark Aether, and same thing with the Light suit, except now you don't take any damage from the atmosphere in Dark Aether, and that's real nice, actually. That's a lifesaver, oh my word. I love this about the series. Progression is natural and by player choice, as well as based on skill. It's obvious enough that you can easily figure stuff out, but it's not super easy. While it applies more to the 2D games, the Prime series does have this to an extent. Now, I'd like to talk about Prime later, but Prime has a scan mechanic that gives you more data on the world. This mechanic can also give you minor hints. Kind of like Zero Mission and Fusion did, it tells you what's required but not how to do it. Now, all Metroid games also tease things you'll have to come back to, or at least the majority of them do. Like this bit in Super Metroid. There are these things called energy tanks that increase your maximum life. They put one in the opening area, just out of your reach. What you have to do is come back here with the high jump boots to get it. But this leads into something else entirely. Sequence breaking. Josh, the person who runs the Geek Critique to my knowledge, mentions this several times throughout his Metroid series, but Metroid is a series that respects player skill and agency and ingenuity. Here, once you have the bombs, which I'm pretty sure you just get when you get the Morph Ball, you can do a technique that I like to call a bomb ladder, to hoist yourself up there after revealing it. Or here, I do this every time I play Super now, you can skip getting the high jump to get to Kraid using a one-sided wall jump. To me, it feels like the developers knew this was here and just let it be. I say this because skips are everywhere. Minor stuff like skipping the high jump or straight up being able to complete bosses in reverse order. No, I didn't make it up. That's why I wouldn't be surprised. This stuff is all over the series, even in Samus Returns, where I thought that they'd be, modern Nintendo and not want people to have those things and see these sequence breaks and skips as things that are broken and just fix them. But they didn't. Which makes not just that game, but most of them super fun to speedrun. Even if you aren't great at speedrunning. I did a Super Metroid speedrun once, but I sucked at it, but boy was it fun. However, I said most for a reason. There is one blemish on the otherwise wonderful Metroid saga. Other end. This game, I honestly kind of want to like it. The concept isn't bad. In fact, I like it a lot. But there's a lot of problems with it. Listen, a more action-oriented Metroid game developed by Team Ninja? Sign me up! But the problem is the everything. I won't get too into it because I'm working on a review of it. I just need to get a capture card. However, I will mention a few things. Using sideways remote sucks with 3D because there aren't enough buttons. Adam's a jerk who restricts you for no reason. The story is really dumb and Samus' delivery sucks. The worst of all, the gameplay is tied directly to the story and because that was the focus. This just makes the game boring. No, this is objectively not the worst game I've ever played, but it's my least favorite. I knew what I was getting into when I bought the game, but I was still disappointed by it. I've spent this entire time gushing about Metroid, and I haven't really mentioned some of my favorite parts. While gameplay is always king for me whenever I decide if I like a game or a series, and it's no different for Metroid, I also like the lore and the story. And actually, Metroid has some nice lore, specifically between Samus and her nemesis Ridley. I mentioned him earlier in Smash. If you read the Metroid manga that was released around the time of Zero Mission's release, it's really good, you should go do it, it's in the Metroid database. You'll know that Ridley raided and destroyed Samus' colony when she was just a child, so the Chozo had to take her in. The other one's responsible for her power suit and all its upgrades. At the end of the manga, Ridley just straight up tells Samus he ate her parents. And that's another thing. This side of Ridley is never seen in the games. This Ridley is cunning, ruthless, and actually somewhat charming. It's sickening. I love it. I just want to see this side of Ridley in Metroid Prime 4, or maybe the inevitable Super Metroid remake. Besides the manga, the world building elsewhere is deep, and I love it. There are set locations that are consistent, as seen with the original Metroid and Super, as they take place on the same planet. But the world building really shines here, in the Metroid Prime series, actually. Yep, we're finally talking about it. While the Prime series is full of dumb stuff that the 2D games fall into, like the BS excuses why Samus doesn't keep her power-ups, as seen in this clip of me playing Prime 1. Ow. Oh, come on! Are you kidding me? So I even lost my Morph Ball? My Charge Beam? I lost it all? I'm not gonna remember how to do all this in hours. However, it makes up for it with a deeper combat and world building. Starting off with world building, the scan feature mentioned earlier does not only give subtle hints, but in the case of Prime 2's opening area, can give us hints about different things in this universe. Sticking with the opening of Prime 2, several journal entries of dead Federation soldiers give you an idea of what happened at the site. It's so Metroid to serve a story like this. It's even optional, but I love it. However, one entry comes to mind when I was writing this, and that's because it brings up this neat idea. The journal entry is about a guy who is skeptical of Samus exists. He treats her like a myth and nothing more. I find it so interesting that Samus seems to be merely a myth to many. Top of story text, it can also teach us about the biology of things, the structural integrity of certain objects, decipher languages and plans, or even tell how certain life forms died and when. The combat also got an overhaul with the shift to a first-person shooter. I mean, it's pretty obvious that it would. This is my favorite combat in the entire series. In the 2D games, aside from bosses, you just kind of spam beams and missiles, and rarely do you have anything else to do. I mean, unlike Samus Returns, that game is a little bit different in that regard. Well, this is still kind of the focus, as well as, you know, getting drops from enemies to heal yourself and refill your ammo. Now, dodging is also a focus, and is very much emphasized, along with smart movement. When you're in combat, it is recommended that you lock on to one enemy and pick them off one by one. This sounds kind of like Ocarina of Time's combat, but unlike Ocarina of Time, the enemies don't just sit there and wait their turn to hit you. Hostiles open fire relentlessly. This incentivizes dodging more than anything. It makes combat much more interesting and fun than in the 2D games, which is why Prime 2 is my favorite Metroid game. Because Prime 2 perfectly blends what you think would make a 2D game great, and it does, and specifically 2D Metroid as well, with the deeper gameplay of the 3D Metroid that came before it. If you couldn't tell, I'm extremely stoked for Prime 4. Nintendo, when's the next news coming out? I'm kind of curious. But that's it. My incoherent ramblings about why I like Metroid. Bottom line, TLDR, Metroid is a series with amazing gameplay, amazing world building, and amazing secrets and tricks. I think this series is my second favorite series. And I mean, Pokemon will always be number one for me. And in fact, that's what we'll be talking about next time. In fact, here's a roadmap for this little trilogy, and it goes in this order. Good, great, and a mixed bag. You can guess what series I'll be taking on in the third video. I'll pin your comment and give you a shout out in the next one. That's all I got. And I guess I'll see you guys next time.
Game over. Continue.